Hi folks, and welcome back to the Motorcycle Enquiries, and today we're going to have a look at mind, body and soul. We're going to have a look to see whether materialism or dualism has got the better idea of understanding soul. We're also going to have a think about whether the soul is better understood as a metaphor or as reality. And finally we're going to consider whether or not the soul is in fact a category error.
So when we think about materialism versus dualism, we start with the dualists. And we've probably got to start with Plato, who suggested that the mind and body were kind of like a divided will from Augustine, but that you've got the body that wants one thing and the mind that wants another thing. Sort of convincing on the surface of it, but actually there's very little proof to back it up. It's a bit more mythological. But Descartes had a more philosophically robust approach, and suggested that because of cogito ergo sum, which proves that you can have a mind but not a body, you can also then extend this into what's known as Leibniz's law. Now, Leibniz's law suggests that if properties are the same, then the substance is the same. And therefore, if you're looking at things with different properties, they are different substances. The mind can be proven, the body can't, therefore they must be of different substances, and therefore they must be different. This is the idea of sort of divisibility as well. The body can be divided up, but the mind doesn't seem to be able to be divided up. The body is extensive, i.e. it occupies space, but the mind doesn't appear to do so. So we must be looking at different things with different properties. So that's Descartes' set of ideas. We could also use the ideas of innate knowledge, that we innately know, and this is Descartes' idea, that even if, hello birds, even if you've got a puddle of melted wax that was once a candle in front of a fire, you still know that it's made of wax, despite the fact that it has melted. It's like an innate truth. Less of a convincing argument based on what we said in the Plato Aristotle video. No, we're good. Okay, so the materialists respond to this, and they're taking a more empirical approach, because of course Descartes was a rationalist, and suggest that neuroscience can explain how the physical brain affects our mental states. I think psychology tells us this. To start with, quick check. Yep. The mind is basically what the brain does. And this is Dawkins' argument all the way over. And if you are to take a dualist position, how do you actually know how the body and the mind interact? There doesn't seem to be any explanation of how that happens. And so therefore, if there's Occam's razor, then the materialist position, which is simpler, suggesting there is no soul, surely makes more sense. And then of course you get to people like, that's a big horse. Anyway, the category error idea is that you can't really split the brain and the mind. They're both part of the same process. It's a form of monism, really, but it suggests that it's like a materialist monism. And Occam's razor, therefore, would suggest that the mind being what the body does, again, is a simpler idea, and therefore is more believable. However, the dualists do have a response to this. And that they suggest that there are other reasons why you might believe that there is a separate mind or soul. Oh, breathe in. Hold breath. Burning manure. Gotta love the countryside. Ugh. Anyway, yeah. So they refer to what's called the qualia of existence. So like the feeling of the experiences of existence. Happiness, sadness, the smells, the touches, the tastes, all the stuff that can't be reduced down. And they suggest that materialism is just far too reductive. And Jackson comes up with the idea that we can't reduce mental states down to pure physicality. He talks about property dualism. So there's like two properties of the mind. So there's only the mind. Sorry, there's only the brain, even two properties of the brain. So you've only got the brain, but it has mental properties and physical properties. Some would criticise by saying, well, you're basically just renaming substance dualism. What are you giving that's any different? But that does lead on to another question. But maybe the soul is a metaphor. You know, maybe like Dawkins suggests, the soul is just a metaphor for some of the things that the brain does. Now, better be careful here, not great visibility. Okay. Whereas Jackson sort of suggests that the soul might be a metaphor, but sort of suggests it exists. It's kind of just substance dualism. Whereas the dualist is saying, no, the soul really is real. It does kind of leave us with the monist idea as well, though. Here we go, Hawksworth Church. And the monist idea kind of agrees with the materialist idea. Now, this is quite a nice church, actually. It's Grade 2 listed, and it dates back to the 12th century, but actually there's some Danish Viking stuff and some Saxon stuff there as well. It's quite an impressive church, really. But anyway, so there's the monist position, which suggests that the body and soul are kind of intertwined, which is almost like agreeing with Ryle, really, Gilbert Ryle, and the ideas of category error, in that the soul, in a sense, is just something that the body does. Either way, so there are discussions. There is a back and forth between the materialists and the dualists, and there are modern dualists who have responded. It's not just all about Descartes. There's people like Jackson as well.